All right, Dustin Poirier, let's try to unpack this. I've never seen anybody's pending retirement be extended to this degree. And I don't think that Dustin's having fun with you guys. I don't think he's going back and forth. I think he's just in a spot where he hasn't got this worked out. He gets back from his fight. You got the post-fight blues. Whether you win or lose, you got the post-fight blues. And then he had some injuries. There was something to the knee. I know that the nose was broken. He dealt with a rib injury before, all the way back. 3 weeks prior to that Islam fight. At what point do you form these decisions? And I got to work with Dustin. I got to see him, but I also got to work with him. And he got asked this question on the air. And he said, if there's something interesting. That's the word that he used. If there's something interesting for me, I'll do one more. But at this point, I can't even imagine what that would be, which means I'm done. So he kind of let us know what he would like to do, which is one more, but I don't think he wants a situation like St. Denis. I don't think Dustin wants to be anything lower than a main event, anything lower than, wow, what's going to happen here? So fast forward to today. I mean, guys, that was like 3 weeks ago, the story that I just told you a month ago. I told you I worked with him. Fast forward to today, he says, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm out of the gym, hanging out with my wife, we're eating what we want, we're relaxing. I know what he means by that. You don't feel like doing anything at that point. You ever feel like a tough guy? You ever get pissed off? Go fight somebody. Go have a big meal. You won't feel that way. Like there's nothing that makes you change wanting to be active and wanting to be busy, like eating poorly for a number of weeks. So I just shared that I understood what he meant. He's going to eat good. He's going to spend a month. He's going to get back in the gym. He's not only going to eat better, focus more, he's also going to work out so that he's in a good and healthy place to make the decision. And you want to know why that's so relevant? Because if you don't feel good, you don't feel like doing it, you now want to say no. It's not really a choice. If you feel good, if you're in shape, if everything's going good, now it's a choice. Do I want to do this? Do I not want to do it? So I love what Dustin's saying, because I get it. I get the point, and I feel like it's very well thought out. I know so many things can happen in the moment. Guys will retire on the spot, but they'll retire for a number of reasons. Like when George Masvidal retired, it wasn't because he didn't want to keep fighting. It's because he had lost again and he wasn't sure he was going to get booked. So let me just get in front of this thing. I don't tease him for saying that. I'm sharing with you it was a very insincere retirement. I mean, George, you get ready. He's got his fingers crossed, if you will, and started looking for fights immediately after. And then even found one. Went out there and boxed. I'm sharing with you that if Poirier had done that, if Poirier would have said, yep, I'm retired, and then rethought it and goes, hey, no, wait a minute, that was the heat of the moment, and it was Islam, and my knee hurt, I really didn't understand the question, I'd just been choked out a minute ago, like, then all of a sudden you don't say that, now you have the comeback fight. So many comeback fights are because somebody retired that never meant it. For whatever reason, whether it was like the Masvidal one where you get your fingers crossed, for whatever reason, they retired. So, one constant we do have with Dustin Poirier, got to be something interesting, and he doesn't know who that is. He doesn't have someone that he's looking at that's interesting. And the UFC has said no to some names that you would really like to see fight. You'd have fantasized about getting one more, and they've said no. For various reasons. But largely, if it's going to be your last one, it's very hard for me to make that a feature match. In fact, in the history of the UFC, we only made somebody's last one a feature match one time. And that was on accident. Do you guys know which match I'm talking about? Diaz versus Ferguson is your answer. And so that would put Dustin in an interesting spot. If it really is going to be his last one, then he's going to need a dance partner who is also in his last one. And there are limited guys, but they exist. Like Nick Diaz can't be ignored. Dustin had business with Nate. Nate may become available, but right now Nick is available, and nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about Nick versus Dustin. It's a great example by me. Because it would be interesting, and that is the kind of fight that isn't going to disrupt the rankings, and it is the kind of fight that you could put on, even if you were the UFC, that doesn't put on fights that don't disrupt the rankings. So I offer Nick just to get your mind flowing. But you do have 2 weight classes. And if Dustin chose, if he wanted Colby by example, he knows how to get it. And Dustin does have the goods to make that happen. He's got the goods to do an interview and make that fight very interesting. Does Dustin want to fight at 170? Does he want to fight at 155? It's a situation where he really is turning control over you guys. He is open to suggestions. I've been with him when he has said as such. But he's also letting us know now he needs something interesting. And he just doesn't know who that would be. 1 month ago, he needed something interesting. He just didn't know who that could be. He's turning it over to you. And you guys aren't computing and coming back with that answer, I believe, because you're not understanding that that's what he's asking you to do. And you got 2 weight classes, 55 or 70. You want to keep him around? You want to get one more fight? He's only got one criteria. He's got to be interested. Like, that's not a lot to demand. That's not the kind of guy, right? You start making demands to get yourself out of this business. You start pricing yourself out of the business. You're doing weight class, or you start, I need a fight that's this big, and that as a way of not having to do it. I want something interesting. That's a small request. Let's give it to him.